Welcome, friends. I'm Chris. I'm from Transformation Nation Yoga and Wellness. Welcome to Sunrise Yin. This is our sequence on opening up to uncertainty. What I think you'll need to be safe, comfortable, to get the most out of your practice today are a yoga mat, one or two blankets, two foam or cork yoga blocks, and a bolster. In the absence of a bolster, a prop that you probably do have, if you don't have a bolster, you probably have a couch cushion. That works really well, but you want something that's got a little bit of resistance. So pause your recording, roll out your mat, gather up your props, and when you're ready, press play. I'll meet you on your mat for a sunrise yin. All right, we're going to get started with some breath work. So find a comfortable seated position. I think for this, like typically for breath work, you could do any seated position. Often you could do them laying down. This one really lends itself to sitting in more of a cross-legged position. And you might even choose to use your hands, make little cups, cup them on your knees. And typically I ask you to stack the joints to float your head over your shoulders, over your hips. In this case, I'd like you to find a long spine, but then track your forehead forward a little bit. So your hands are cupping the knees and the forehead is coming forward, but with still a long, straight spine. And the breath that we're going to do is Kapalabhati, skull cleansing breath with a kumbhak breath retention. So the technique for part one for the Kapalabhati is I'll cue you, we'll do a cleansing breath first, then I'll cue you for a half breath in, and then the exhale is like a sneezing noise through the nose as you snap the belly button back to the spine. And then just relax, let the belly button return to normal. So this is not snap in, snap back. That's a different technique. This is just snap in and relax. So when we start, it'll look something like this. And we'll go to the end of a counted sequence, and then I'll ask you to do a breath hold using a Jalandhara chin lock. So for that, drop your chin to your chest, lift your chest up to your chin. We'll hold with empty lungs. Then I'll cue for you to lift the chin, draw an inhale through the nose, hold the breath, chin to chest, chest to chin, and hold. And we'll move through this whole thing 3 times. So first that cleansing breath, taking a deep, deep, life-affirming breath through your nose. And then open your mouth, let that go, maybe with a ha. Good. Now, a half breath in, and then exhale, 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 X, 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 X. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Empty lungs, hold the breath. Drop your chin down towards your chest, lift your chest up towards your chin, and hold. Lift your chin, inhale through your nose. Hold the breath, chin to chest, chest to chin. Lift your chin, exhale through your mouth. Ah. Round 2. Drawing a half breath through your nose. And then we exhale, 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 X, 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 X. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Empty lungs, chin to chest, chest to chin. Hold the breath. Lift your chin up to neutral. Inhale through the nose. Hold your breath. Chin to chest, chest to chin. Lift your chin. Inhale through your nose. Or rather, exhale through your mouth. Draw in a half breath through your nose. Round 3. We exhale, 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 X, 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 X. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Empty lungs. Hold the breath. Chin to chest, chest to chin. Lift your chin. Inhale through your nose. And then hold your breath. Chin to chest, chest to chin. Lift your chin. Exhale through your mouth. Eyes are closed. Body is relaxed. Breath is natural. That was Kapalabhati, skull cleansing or skull shining breath, the Kumbhak breath retention. And the first true yin pose of our practice today is going to be a squat. So options for this, I'm going to do this with a bolster under my heels, but you could also do this with no support under the feet. You could do it with your back up against the wall. You could do it with one or more blocks under the seat, but I'd like your feet apart, toes angled out to about 12 degrees. And then once you've allowed your seat to descend toward the earth, if you like, you could just allow your fingertips to fold down toward the earth, maybe even your forehead. So I planned this sequence around this idea of opening up to uncertainty. So this is my 2022 understanding is that we come into the world without a very good set of instructions and with a strong drive to, I'm using air quotes here, to know what we're doing or a strong drive to get it right. And I think that's pretty natural. And my sense is from what I've heard from other teachers and what I've read is that in past times there was sort of an eldership that helped us kind of tease out and figure our way better, but that eldership has long since been broken. And I think we have the sense sometimes that everybody else has got it figured out. Everybody else knows the answers. They've got the playbook. And somehow we missed that opportunity. We missed the chance to get the playbook. And one of the things that it seems to me is that there is no playbook and that nobody really knows. We're all just kind of making it up as we go and doing the best that we can with the tools and the resources that we have available, whatever it looks like from outside. And that drive to know what's coming, to have a bit more certainty, it sometimes manifests in some really weird ways to the degree that we will, um, certainly this is true from my history, but I've seen this in the lives of other people too. We'll sometimes sabotage ourselves and let go of a beautiful possibility that's uncertain to get a certain um, outcome that we know we can predict, we can count on, that maybe isn't as good for us. So we have language around this in our society. We say things like, the devil you know is better than the devil that you don't know, which is a pretty strong statement. I don't, that's, that's pretty powerful. That fear of the uncertain, the unknown, that fear of uncertainty is pretty strong to drive us into a circumstance where we're willing to accept an evil that we know because we're nervous about what might come in the absence of that. Or that there's an expression, this is less strong, but nonetheless, I think speaks to the same thing. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, right? Hang on to it. There's a gratitude message there that I think is good and healthy, but I also think there's a degree of clinging to certainty, any kind of whole hand grip we can get onto certainty. We're going to transition out of this. We're going to transition into a dragonfly. So you can do this lots of different ways. As long as the body mechanics are good, there's no problem. I'm going to bring my hands under my seat and just sit back. I'm going to replace my bolster with a block because I'm going to use my bolster here. And then take your legs out nice and wide. Another option is to take the legs up the wall here and fold forward. Maybe with the foot of the bolster on the earth, the head of the bolster on the chest, or maybe with or without the bolster, elbows on the inner thighs, and either thumbs in the inside of the upper eye socket, urinary bladder to acupressure point, or maybe hands come here to support the chin. It's also not wrong to allow the forehead to just drape down toward the earth. So I feel like one of the things that I'm trying to do with my life at this point is to one accept the inevitability of uncertainty and know that I like not only do I not have to have all the answers and know how to do everything that comes up or know what's coming, but to the degree that I can to release myself of the expectation and the obligation to do so. And the other is to try to like my pat. I have a degree of pattern of around self sabotage with um, forcing things to get a difficult outcome that I know and can predict rather than something that I don't know is allowing myself to sometimes just hold space with that discomfort of not knowing and just seeing what happens. Because it seems to me the bottom line is whatever the rest of our circumstances may look like, we will be surprised. The universe, life will surprise us with some things that we could not have predicted. Some cases we would have chosen those things for ourselves. In other cases, we never would have. What does it look like when we can make some peace with that? Check in with your body. Notice your current level of sensation, knowing that you don't have to change anything. But if you wanted to add sensation, you could take the legs further apart. You could lower your head, your heart closer down toward the earth, or even allow your chin to drape in closer towards your chest. Maybe leading with the chin. Start to lift yourself up out of this shape. Stack your joints first, and then you can do this how you like. But for me, hands behind the knees, drawing the heels in closer to my body first. And then we're going to go into shoelace. So grab 2 blocks, and I'm going to set this up from the side first, and then I'll turn and face you, just for demonstration purposes. Take your right knee to the center of your mat, angle your right heel out to the outside. Hands come forward. Step your left leg over. Let your left knee touch the earth. So left knee and right knee are both kissing the earth right now. And then walk your hands back towards your knees. Tuck 2 blocks under your seat. And then just check in. So the compression points here are probably going to be on the deep six lateral hip rotators on the outer thighs. If you have space, lift up, remove 1 block. And then check in. Notice where you're at on our scale of sensation, looking for a 4 to 6 on that continuum from 0 to 10. If you have more space, I don't think that I do here, you could reach back, remove a block. Ooh, I'm okay here. And this is going to be the end of the line for me here. But if you wanted more sensation, you could fold forward. Right, check in with your current level of sensation. Again, looking for that range of 4 to 6. If you want a more sensation, I gave you some tools already. You could also sort of wing the feet further forward toward the top edge of your mat. But as always, knowing that there's nothing wrong with where we are, and often making no changes is the right move. I'm at a 6 right now. I'm not going to change a thing. We're going to begin the transition to the other side. The left leg will be set up already oriented more or less how we want it. So come forward onto the hands, unwind the right leg, wrap your right knee over your left, maybe setting up with one or two blocks. The other side may be an indication of how much space you have, but isn't necessarily. That is too much without the block here. So having a little bit of asymmetry there is pretty common, pretty natural. So when it comes to self-sabotage, as I mentioned, is part of my pattern and is part of the pattern of other people who I know well. To be so intent to know what a specific outcome is that we'll sabotage ourselves to get a predictable outcome rather than waiting to see what happens to get one that we don't know. One tool for self-sabotage are stories. So these are these habitual, repetitive thoughts that our heads tell our hearts, right? And it's not wrong and it's not bad to have stories. It's part of being human. Everyone that I know has this happen. But it's useful for us to start to listen to those, learn what they are and attend to them. A lot of times we assume that anything that pops into our head is true. I went to see a therapist a long time ago as a young man, and I remember one of the things that he said that really blew my mind is he said, "Not everything that you think is true." And that had never crossed my mind. But my sense is now more and more that that's absolutely accurate. So to find these stories, especially the depreciative ones that we allow to persuade or convince us to take an action that looks like self-sabotage. What are the repetitive thoughts or ideas that come up when things get hard? Or when it's really quiet, you don't have any distractions, you're all alone. What is it that comes up for us? And maybe like if you got like when we're really close in relationship with someone and there's a lot of trust we can ask too, because we often vocalize these. I would argue sometimes it's hard for us to see these stories for ourselves, but an intimate partner, somebody that we're dating or a spouse, they know what a lot of the stories are because they've heard these same things over and over again. And once we've learned to identify what some of our stories are, especially with the ones that are hurting us, we could even start to substitute something else in there. Something that's a little more supportive of the journey and the life that we want to live. So, in the vein of uncertainty, how many times have you heard someone say something like, I just don't like change. I'm just not good with change. That's a story. That's something that somebody told themselves about themselves. And sometimes, where do these come from? Sometimes people in our lives at really influential times have told us these things about ourselves. And we just latched onto it as if it absolutely must be true. But sometimes we self generate these too. So, if, for example, I'm not good with change isn't one of my stories, but if it was, and I knew that, knowing it makes it easier for us to identify it when it comes up. And if the goal is to open up to uncertainty and accept that we don't have the playbook, we don't know everything that's going to happen, and that's all okay. What if in those moments where we felt I'm not good with change bubble up, we instead send a message from our head to our heart? My heart is open to change. or I don't need to know all the answers. All right, so if you fold it forward over your thighs, start to lift yourself up. And here, like the orientation of the legs is less important. So you can unwind from this any way that you want. And then find any resting pose on your belly. From your resting position, start to make your way into a tabletop. And I'd like you to have a bolster at least within reach. So we're going to take sleeping swan. So take your right knee forward and up to the outside edge of the mat. So nice and wide. Right shin could be angled parallel to the top edge of the mat. In most bodies, it will not be. Tuck your toes under your left foot, walk your left leg back a bit. And you could stay lifted up, or I'm really looking for more of a sleeping swan here. Start to fold your chest and your forehead down to whatever kind of support would be useful. So a bolster would be good for lots of people, or maybe a block. And maybe even pad that up with a blanket or a block on top of the bolster. Check in with your body, notice your current level of sensation. If you're in that range of 4 to 6, you're already home. You don't have to change a thing. If your body's asking for more, you could take your right shin closer to parallel to the top edge of your mat. You could tuck your toes under your left foot, walk your left knee further back, or you could remove some of your supports and lower your heart or your head closer down toward the earth. Start to lift yourself up. Maybe stack the joints first. And then I'd like you to transition onto your right side in a right forearm plank. We're going to go into fallen sphinx. So on your right side with your right shoulder floating over your right elbow, step the sole of your left foot forward. Maybe let your right ear fall down towards your right shoulder, but certainly allow your right rib cage to fall down toward the earth. So on the message of opening to uncertainty, keeping our hearts open to possibility that we can never know or expect. I have this uncle who I love very much, and also recognize that what he puts out into the world often doesn't hold a lot of value from your residents. But he's really witty. He says some things that are really funny. And one of his expressions, he's got these little one-liners that he puts in the conversations, and he can really have you cracking up and rolling. But one of his is, "We're lost, but we're making good time," right? Which is pretty funny. The first time I heard that, I really had to think about it. We're lost, but we're making good time. And while much of what this beloved uncle says doesn't hold a lot of resonance for me, it doesn't it's not my worldview. Um, I love this expression. I love this. We're lost, but we're making good time. What if we can take the view that like we don't know exactly where we're going. We don't know where this road is going to lead us to. But we're going to enjoy the journey and just see what happens. To me, there's a lot of value and wisdom there. All right, check in with your body. Notice your current level of sensation. So, knowing that what we're doing here is we're opening the right side of the body, right? You could stay right here the whole time, or to change the sensation a little bit, bring your left hand down to the mat between your torso and the edge of your mat. Slide your right forearm forward. Bring your left hand to the left side of your rib cage and fold that left shoulder any amount toward the earth behind you. Now here, because I don't have a lot of torso or shoulder mobility, my shoulder's probably lifted 6 or 8 inches. I'm going to leave my left hand right here on my rib cage. But if your shoulder comes closer down toward the earth, it might feel good to lengthen that left arm long behind you. Bring your left hand back to the left side of your rib cage. Lift your left shoulder up, float it up over your right. Step your left leg back, and then using good body mechanics, make your way into a tabletop again. I'm going to take the sleeping swan on the other side. So slide your left knee forward to the far left-hand side edge of your mat. Tuck your toes under your right foot. Walk that right knee further back behind you. And then as you're ready, fold your heart and your head down to the earth or into any support that helps you find that range of 4 to 6. Check in with your body. Notice your current level of sensation. And then make the appropriate decision. You could change nothing, or you know all the tools available to add sensation here. Start to walk your torso back up and make the transition into that left forearm plank. Step the sole of your right foot forward And slump down into your left shoulder, allowing the left side of your rib cage to fold toward the earth. Maybe your left ear falling toward your left shoulder. Check in with your body. Notice your current level of sensation. Maybe changing nothing, or maybe bringing your right hand down to the earth, sliding your left forearm forward, bringing your right hand to your rib cage, and folding your right shoulder back down in the general direction of the earth behind you. We're going to transition out of this now. So bring your right hand back to the right side of your rib cage. Lift your right shoulder up, float it over your left. Step your right leg back. And then using good body mechanics, Make your way into your back. Put a generous bend in the knees with the soles of your feet on the earth. And then find eagle legs. Cross your right knee over your left. Scoot your hips over toward the right side of your mat. And then lift your right knee up like you were trying to touch yourself in the chin. Take your left hand to your right shin just below the knee and guide that right knee down in the general direction of the left shoulder. Now release your right shin. Lower your feet down to the earth. Unwind your legs. And we'll set up for the other side, wrapping your left knee over your right. Scoot your hips over to the left. Lift your left knee up like you were touching your chin. And then right hand comes to your left shin just below the knee. And gently traction your left knee down towards your right shoulder.
Release your left shin. Lower your feet down to the earth. Unwind your legs and then sit up for any final resting shape on your seat, your belly, your back, or your side. In this final resting shape, find a shape that allows you to balance relaxation with alertness, knowing that you don't have to do anything. You just have to be. Begin to draw some deeper breaths, feeling for an increase in that life force energy, the pranic force that you're bringing in through that air. And then if you'd like, begin a process of reanimating your body by adding an element of movement. Any movements that feel organic and healing to you, but what I would suggest is start with small movements, transition from small to medium-sized movements, and then eventually transition from medium-sized to large movements. And then with no rush at all, taking all the time you need, make your way onto either side into a fetal position. And now take 3 or 4 breaths. Just check in, notice how you're feeling. Notice how your body's feeling, but notice too the quality of your nervous system. And then press yourself up into any seated position, any soft eyes. You can do anything you like with your hands. Thank you for moving and for breathing with me this morning. May you find some space in your heart to open up to uncertainty. Draw your thumbs to the space between your eyebrows. Blessings to you and your family. And that concludes our practice for today. Great job, friends. Again, I'm Chris. I'm from Transformation Nation Yoga and Wellness. You're doing amazing. Keep going.